It feels a little peculiar in here. A little odd, some would say.
Yeah.
Something's off. But you know what's on?
What?
Your blanket.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice blanket that someone left us.
Yeah, it was very generous of them to give it to us.
A little peek behind the curtain. We think this is also being used as a nap room here, which again is totally fine.
Which is fine.
Who hasn't slept in this room?
As long as you're doing it on your break.
On your break.
Well, you can do it off your break too. I don't know.
And I guess, here's the thing is I like to throw out is, as long as your time card reflects it, that's
exactly.
We're all good.
Look, as long as I don't get in trouble.
And listen, as long as you're hygienic about it, I'm cool. I'm all right. Like, I don't need you, taking your socks and shoes off and chilling up here.
No, we're at work.
We have decorum here.
We're talking the Oddest sequels. Now, this is kind of a broad range to sort of make a video out of.
Yeah.
But we've whittled it down to 5. Well, technically more than just 5, but wait, 6 actually. Got 6 on the card.
That's 6. Well,
but there's some layers in there. I was thinking about what movie we should start with, and I think we're going to start with The Rise of Skywalker. Because let's just get it out of the way.
Let's get out of the way. We've already talked about it a lot, but I think it's already been 4 years almost since that movie came out. I think we put it on the list because just the idea that you have a movie, whether you like it or not, that set up a lot of things in the previous movie, and then to be like, nah.
Yeah. To go from Last Jedi, which is very much like anybody can be a Jedi, or can be Force sensitive, to just being like, oh, Rey's actually related to Palpatine.
Yeah.
We didn't set it up in any way whatsoever. John Boyega's character, was it Finn?
Finn.
Finn just has a new side quest.
Yeah.
Just third different time of side questing.
Poe, it hasn't learned anything from the last. It is just 100%. The studio said, "Ooh, some people didn't like what we did, so we may need to fix some stuff." Which, again, if you have your thoughts, that's whatever. That's not what we're here to discuss. But it is a little weird that there were direct things in there that's like the Laura Dern awesome thing, where she rams into all the destroyers, and they're like, that can only be pulled off once. It was clear they read the internet and were like, oh, we need to fix some of this. It just doesn't make it. It's sad.
But the people that even like Rise of Skywalker admit the whole knife stuff, and then how it fits perfectly into the thing, and it's just like, look, that's why we watch Indiana Jones. Yeah. Not why we watch Star Wars.
Yeah. It's just it's odd also that for a third movie that should be the wrapping up things, they just try to introduce so much.
So many loose ends.
The whole people on that moon of Endor, or just so much, and why would you introduce new things? It's you can introduce a couple new things, but there are giant plot points that will just never be resolved. So
JD can talk about this for hours.
I can talk
I'm
about
sure
for hours.
at some time maybe we will.
Maybe we'll have a live stream.
Too much work.
Oh, that is a lot of work.
This was in my brain when I heard of Oddest sequels, not only because of the title, but because when this movie came out, Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon were huge in the 90s, which is just a weird thing to say because of Grumpier Old Men.
Yeah.
But before they made the sequel for Grumpier Old Men, they made a sequel to The Odd Couple.
Yeah.
30 years later, which I think might still be the record for longest time in between sequels. I don't know if that's true.
Top Gun, I think that's
right. Maybe Top Gun has broken the record. I don't know. I didn't really fact check that hard. But it was 30 years, 1968 to 1998. Grumpy Old Men came out 94, 96, somewhere around there. And then they were like, well, we got to get Odd Couple 2 out there. They just didn't learn any lessons from the first movie. And they're back into their usual hijinks, but no one wanted it. Everyone was like, okay, Odd Couple was a good movie.
Yeah.
Why do another one?
Well, because, they had to get that Grumpy Old Men money.
Well, Grumpy Old Men was a massive hit.
Huge.
They do Odd Couple 2, bombs.
Yeah.
Grumpy Old Men, also a hit. Yeah, so it's just an odd little
It is odd.
time. The Odd Couple, some would say.
It is weird that it doesn't. That's like, this isn't like a super great comparison. But that's like if we like did a what's Ben from The Graduate doing? You know, like those 60s movies were very much like really hard to like make sequels to.
Yeah. And they've talked about doing a sequel to The Graduate too.
And they're just like, oh no, like let's do it, you know? But like it was Bad News Bears or something.
Well, speaking of 1998, we have another odd sequel from the same year, Blues Brothers 2000, which, I mean, I get why Dan Aykroyd would want to make it, because he wants to relive, sort of recapture that feeling of his life.
As always.
Which seems to be his MO as an old man, is just trying to recapture that feeling.
And aliens.
And, well, lots of aliens. Yeah. But also you got John Goodman coming on board. You have Joe Morton. And it's like a continuation of like the Broadway show or like the tour that they had.
Yeah.
So I don't remember much of this movie. I know there's a kid in it.
It also doesn't make sense that it's like the Blues Brothers 2000. Like it came out in 1998.
But from like 97 to 2000, everything was 2000.
And it's more just sad to watch.
Yeah.
Because it is just that attempt to, hey, we've lost a friend who was such a ginormous part of this group, and it just makes you sad watching, because you are watching someone like almost deal with grief.
And his brother is in the movie, right?
Yes, yeah. Jim, according to Jim, yeah. But you're watching like these people deal with the grief, but it's like a screwball comedy, you know, a musical comedy, and you're like, feels strange, you know. It's very, and watching a kid just be
and seeing it as a kid. You see the first Blues Brothers, and you're like, "Oh, that's such a cool movie."
Yeah.
And then, like, if you did these back to back, you would just be like, "Well, I'm not a Blues Brothers fan anymore." You would 100% not like the series.
Well, and two, I think that it really, like, filmmaking had changed a lot. That like, it looks so clean. Blues Brothers 2000.
Yeah.
And what I love about Blues Brothers, it just looks gritty and sometimes not gross, but you're like that. They just like threw some film on a camera, and they just really set up where they could, and it's awesome.
Now moving to perhaps what everyone would agree is probably the oddest movie trilogy to ever exist. I'm of course talking about the Look Who's Talking series. Look Who's Talking, Look Who's Talking 2,
T-O-O,
and Look Who's Talking Now.
Yeah.
So as you know, Look Who's Talking was a big hit.
Humongous hit.
It made sense as a movie. It's a fun little gimmick.
Yeah, they said, Bruce Willis.
Willis, John Travolta.
Kirstie Alley.
I think before Pulp Fiction.
Yes. Yeah.
Kirstie Alley and Roseanne.
No, Roseanne's the sequel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So the first one is just Bruce Willis. You just got Mikey. He's the baby. But it's more of kind of like this love story.
Yes.
And the idea of like, you know, being a committed parent.
Yeah, and John's character is like out of work and trying to find a job and stuff like that. So,
if I'm not mistaken, I'm thinking about it, because it's been forever since I've seen these movies, I don't think he's Mikey's dad.
No.
And so the whole thing is like, what is a parent? What is a father figure?
Yeah.
And you get like, it's a talking baby.
Yeah.
But they can't hear it. They can't hear him talk.
So in the second one,
yeah,
he's getting a little sister. That's Roseanne.
That's Roseanne.
I think John Travolta's character is a taxi cab driver.
He was a taxi driver, but now I think he becomes a pilot.
Pilot, that's right. And then because John Travolta.
No, the second one he is still a taxi driver. I think it's the third one.
He becomes a pilot at some point.
Wild.
So, and it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
Only they're just arguing all the time.
Yeah, and there's more kids like who talk too, because Mikey goes to like a party. It's
So that happens, and then you think it's over because I
don't think it did well. Yeah,
it didn't do well. So they did Look Who's Talking Now, and it's dogs talking.
And one of them's voiced by, I'm pretty sure, Danny DeVito.
Probably.
I think it is Danny DeVito. I don't know who the other dog is, but then it's like a love story of dogs.
Yes, and it is bad. I've blocked it from my memory. That's how bad it is.
I remember, I think it gets real crazy at the end, because like there's like a cabin with some snow, and like John Travolta maybe like is being seduced by like this other pilot or person. It gets very weird.
A crash of some kind happens.
I think, or like he's like trying to get to his family.
Yeah.
It is strange.
It is definitely, I think, watching them all in a row would probably be hilarious. Like movie night. Let's move away from the ones that are bad sequels to odd sequels that have aged pretty well, or people will agree was the right path to take. And I'll start with Halloween 3, which is the non-Michael Myers Halloween movie. And JD, I know, is very adamant that that's the way they should have gone with the Halloween series.
They should have done it. Let's just make Halloween the franchise, and it is installments. It is different stories on Halloween, which has become like hugely popular now. Like American Horror Story, The Haunting of Hill House, like those kind of things. But the first one was so huge that they were like, "Ooh, please, can you please give us like one more Michael Myers movie?" Yeah. And Carpenter didn't like love to do it, but he was like, "Sure." And then they just like really killed Michael. They're like, "Can't escape an exploding building, blew up a hospital." It is about this toy company run by this Irishman who has ties to like a Celtic cult, and pretty much it's like a mystery where something's going on with these weird masks that are being sold to children. And on Halloween night, they're going to play this commercial, just get stuck in your head. And then it will like melt the kids' brains. Yeah. And it's weird and I love it. It's so good. The music is great. It's got like this weird synthy version. I mean, more synthy than Carpenter.
Well, it's mid-80s.
It's like, it's really great. And then the Halloween song. But it really plays more like a mystery that is unraveling. You're trying to figure it out. And then the idea just how like crazy, like weird it is. It's like, what if we like put masks on kids and their heads just melted? Yeah. And the ending, and it's, I mean, that's a movie that's decades old. I don't care about naming it. Like the ending just like ends and you don't know if the day's saved. And that's the real like horror part of it. It's like, could you stop it? And I love the vibe of that. I would have been really and then like, but it was like I don't think people liked it.
No, it failed in almost every aspect.
Yeah, and so this is like heat of like Freddy and Jason, and like, well, we gotta bring back Michael.
Let's say you've done a movie about time travel, specifically a time travel in a phone booth outside of a Circle K. Oh, what do you think the sequel would be to that if you were going to make a sequel to a time traveling phone booth movie?
More time traveling.
Yeah, so you would think that, but instead, Bill and Ted, talking about Bill and Ted, they go on a bogus journey, and they get killed, and they get replaced by robots.
Yeah, and they go to hell.
To hell.
They go to heaven.
They go to heaven.
They meet
a celestial being that starts as 2, ends up as 1.
Station.
They have a heavy, heavy reference to the Seventh Seal, which is just not what you expect.
And then they form a band.
And save the world.
Save the world again.
The whole Bill and Ted series, even the third one, where they face the music, which is a mishmash of both 1 and 2, they're just the oddest movies because when you think it's going to go this way, they're just like, nah, actually, we're going to do this, but we're going to do a gag at the same time.
Remember that fun romp where we got all the historical figures? Like, we're not going to do that again. Nope. We're going to have the Grim Reaper as a big character. We're going to have a seance in this thing.
They're going to talk to God.
It's crazy.
Station, man. Station.
We're going to have like a trippy like nightmare sequence where they are reliving their worst nightmares in hell.
But also they're going to reference Star Trek a lot.
It was a smart way, and I think was it a bomb? I don't think it did super well, but it's like, it was a fun way to do a sequel that wasn't just like, let's go get George Washington this time, or Abe Lincoln shows up and he's like, there's been a problem, you know?
And the third did a good job of tying it all together and saying like goodbye to the series.
Yeah, one thing too, it's like, because the second one, they don't really like, there's some future stuff in the beginning about where they're studying about Bill and Ted, and then like, but you never see the moment they save the world, you know. And so now to finally get to cap that off and be like, no, this was the moment, you know, and it even to be like, but it wasn't their moment either, you know. It's just really, it's a nice series.
There are far more odd movies that we've left off this list. So maybe if this video is popular, we might do another one. What
if we did an Oddest sequel to this video?
We should.
Where it's like just a totally different.
We both have blankets.